Waukesha teen planned Trump assassination, killed parents in process, according to FBI. In Waukesha, Wisconsin, and chat, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Waukesha the place where like the Christmas terrorist thing happened? Where that guy just ran over a bunch of people for a Christmas parade? Wasn't that where that happened? Yep, okay. I'm not crazy then. A homicide investigation in Waukesha has taken a shocking turn after federal court documents linked the teen accused of killing his parents to plan to assassinate President Donald Trump. An unsealed warrant filed by the FBI detailed a conspiracy by Nikita Kaspin. So that's why there's so many botters in Tarkov. 17, that tied the teen to a group which the Bureau described as a satanic cult with anti-Judaic, anti-Christian, and anti-Western ideologies. And this kid just seems like a schizophrenic, right? Because, like, what do they mean by this? Kassap is facing charges for killing his mother, Tatiana Kassap, 35, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, 51, in February. The federal documents show Kassap may have been acting in the interest of an external group called the Order of the Nine Angels, classified by the FBI as a network of neo-Nazis that advocates for the use of violence and terrorism to destroy modern civilization. Messages exchanged between Kassap and an unknown user on the cross-platform social media service Telegram. This is always Telegram. It's like when people told me they had a Snapchat, I kind of gave them the side eye, like, you know, I don't trust anything you're doing, guy. It's like whenever I hear Telegram, I'm like, this guy's a Fed. This guy's a Fed. I don't know if he's plotting assassinations or dealing in child pornography, but this guy's a Fed. Referenced a self-described manifesto that called for the assassination of the president, the start of a political revolution, and the promotion of white supremacy. Once again, this guy is a fucking absolute schizophrenic, and it's sad that instead of just killing himself, he took out his parents too. They probably had a bit of a hand in him being a little bit psychopathic, but like, goddamn, dude. Wait, white supremacists wanted to kill Trump, but I thought it was on their side. It's a white supremacist with anti-Christian, anti-Western values who also wanted to kill Trump. Like, this guy's beliefs are all over the fucking place. The CIA and FBI always have these people on their watch list somehow. It's because he's a part of them. As to why specifically Trump, I think it's obvious, Kassap's manifesto reads. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos. Bro is just actually insane in the membrane. Like, this is a level of dangerous without thinking. The warrant covered several of Kassap's electronic devices, including his laptop, phone, and external storage drives. Court documents show Kassap engaged online with white nationals about his relationship with his parents. My parents don't know, LOL. They would take my phone away if they did, he wrote to another user. Are you over 18? 'Cause I'm not. Thus, they still have control. This isn't a real sentence. Who talks like this? Investigators found that Kassap had plans to use an attack drone that would drop a bomb with nuts, bolts, and needles. And Kassap negotiated with another Telegram user to purchase the equipment, along with headphones to block out the sound of a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum firearm. They also uncovered instructions on how to use the equipment and how to make a bomb. What kind of equipment? Because, like, they mentioned the headphones and a gun, but you don't really need instructions for how to work either of those things. That's crazy to me because growing up, we didn't even have the internet, Waukesha County resident Andrew Westenbarger said, reacting to the news. This kid was 17. What do they mean by we didn't even have the internet growing up? How old is this guy? What did he mean by this? Following the proposed assassination, Kassap planned to flee to Ukraine, according to the warrant. Ah, yes. Ukraine. Completely devoid of any kind of white nationalism. Thanks, psychopath. In the messages between Kassap and a user with Ukrainian phone number, Kassap asked, how long will I need to hide before I will be moved to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months. Hold on, same with the pink shirt guy. Ah, yes, the safe haven of Ukraine. 17 years ago was the mid-90s. It all leads back to Ukraine. I don't understand. It seems like anyone that talks about Ukraine has had some like weird fucking MK Ultra programming Whether they're like that weird guy who was like, come all ye homeless people, I will take you and make you a Ukrainian soldier. They wouldn't take me, I'm not strong enough, but I can create the Ukrainian super soldier army. Or whether you're like this guy and you're like, yes, I will usher in a new era of white nationalism by killing Donald Trump. I just think they all sound fucking insane, dude. This is how you get trafficked, chat. He had previously told one of his classmates he was in contact with someone in Russia, according to the warrant. Kassap also reportedly would send videos to at least one classmate that included flashing gory and war images put to Russian music via Snapchat. Chat, what did I say? What did I say about people who use fucking Snapchat earlier? He also told that same classmate he intended to shoot his parents after befriending someone with a gun and stealing it. So you're telling me that this classmate was told he was gonna shoot his parents after he stole a gun from someone that he befriended? And this classmate obviously told people about it because we have it in the article here. But then the police did nothing with this information. That's why you expect, that's why, okay. Oh, you know, he was known to law enforcement. Holy shit. Investigators believe Kassap may have killed his parents to get the financial means and autonomy needed to pursue his plan. Kassap has not been convicted of killing his mother and her husband. He's being tried in Waukesha County and will appear in court for an arraignment hearing on May 7th. According to court documents, the FBI interviewed the Kassap family in November 2023 for unrelated internet IP activity, which they denied. At the time, agents found no corroboration of the alleged activity. No, officer, I don't know what a VPN is. What do you mean? It is just like, it shouldn't be surprising, but it's always mind-boggling just how incompetent everything seems to be. Waukesha prosecutors charged Kassap with intentional homicide for the shooting of his mother and her husband. He's also facing 2 counts of theft movable property, operating a motor vehicle without the owner's consent, 2 counts of identity theft for financial gain, and 2 counts of hiding a corpse. Records show that he lived with the corpses for nearly 2 weeks before fleeing the scene with about $14,000 in cash, a .375 Magnum handgun belonging to Mayer, and driver's licenses of both victims. It's kind of scary to think about, Waukesha resident Miranda Benzer said. It is so true in the fact that you just never know what's going on around you. Kassap was eventually caught by the Waukene Police Department in Kansas at a traffic stop. He was arrested and brought back to Waukesha to face the charges. You can't tell me this isn't some fucking weird-ass book writing. He planned all of this shit in Waukesha and he was caught in Waukene? Like, please, man. This is an absolute insane person who's very dangerous, was completely propagandized by, like, extremist nonsense, and somehow was like, yes, I am a satanic white supremacist. I must kill other white people. What? The feds hire these types for sure. Like, regardless of whether it's some sort of weird-ass fed op or, like, this kid was just a homegrown level of crazy. Hopefully he fucking fries for it. I don't know if Wisconsin has the death penalty, but, like, these people do not deserve the human rights. So, apparently on 4chan, part of what the hack showed is that they have, like, a public reason that they'll ban you, and then they'll also have a private reason where they're just like, oh, this guy calls too many people Jews, we can't have him here anymore. I thought 4chan had, you know, a degree of free speech, but I guess the Jannies were a little more gay than we thought they were. The hacker known as 4chan. Oh my god. Like Reddit mods? Yeah, basically. I guess once more and more of the mods started being inflicted with the gay, it just became like a different skinned Reddit. A different skinned Reddit that's also used as a honeypot, you know? There was I don't think I have a tab on it, but apparently they figured out that, like, Jannies had special internal filters for all of the, like, rage threads on Poll. Like, there was a Janny who was just like, can we do something about all of the, like, X is literally built for Y, or like, you'll never have this, or like some rage pose with like a picture of a Latina or some shit. And I was like, holy shit. Like, we all knew that they were just fucking retarded bait threads, but I thought that they were like retards making them. Yeah, you know, like. And did you ever see the VG filters for Sony and Nintendo fan insults? I did. That's kind of crazy that they would filter that shit. Like, Jannies, what happened? Do you not bring up the V filters on stream? I don't know, Asmongold did, and he's not banned, right? Apparently, all of the countries in red are considered countries with high levels of bots. Which, interestingly enough, Paraguay doesn't have bots. It's, way to go, pair of gays. Honestly, you don't mind the filters that console fanboys are some of the most insufferable people? Yeah, but like, the only time they ever say anything relevant is when they're calling each other slurs. There's a list, but you can't show it on stream. I mean, I can, Asmongold did, but I won't give my mods a heart attack just yet. 4chan has been a shambling corpse for a while. I think the funniest thing about this, and I'm not some sort of like programming guru, so I can't remember like the exact verbiage or whatever, but I think Null was explaining to people how like the way that the hack happened was the website was running on like a super outdated version of something that hadn't been updated and was like end of lifed in 2016 or some shit. And so after Moot sold the website and Hiroshi Moot took over, I guess he just like didn't update anything. And this kind of makes me think of, again, the competency crisis kind of thing, where people who don't know how systems work or how to maintain them gain control of said systems, and then they just fall into disrepair and shambles. It's kind of like colonization in a way, right? The people that know how to build things come in and they build all these nice things like railways and infrastructure and electricity or internet, you know? And then people who don't know how any of this works gain control of it, and they start dismantling the railway for materials. The electricity only works for like 5 hours a day if you're lucky. And infrastructure starts falling completely fucking apart because they don't maintain it. Bridges collapse and they just use ropes to get across it instead of rebuilding the fucking bridge. And 4chan gets hacked because nobody knew how the website fucking worked. 4chan becoming Reddit is crazy. Apparently it just has been for ages. Like even as far back as like 2014, 2015, you could kind of tell shit was like... Again, Poll was my home board, and probably about 50% of the threads, even at that point, were just like the shitpost threads. But they were pretty reliably one of the places to go for like breaking news stories. So if you wanted updated and current information, you could go there and you would get info faster than you'd get it from an actual news source. And so that was one thing I enjoyed. Like the police scanner threads, those are also very comfy. Those were very fun. You know, gotta check your keys. It's been Reddit since at least 2016, maybe sooner. Yeah, I feel 2016 was probably like the nail in the coffin. You can't have too many people celebrating Donald Trumpo, as it were. Another interesting post, cause Null has posted a lot of info about this shit. He said one of the emails for a Janny has the word shitwood in it, which is the name of the Florida law enforcement officer who arrested multiple 4chan users. And I brought up a few articles just so people could, like, get an idea of who the Chitwood guy is if they did not remember. So, third 4chan user arrested following threat to kill Sheriff Chitwood. Another internet user who posted online death threats against Sheriff Chitwood has been arrested, this time in Connecticut, where he's in custody pending extradition to Volusia County. Christian Zapata 23 posted to 4chan on April 7th, "I will kill Chitwood, mark my words," a post that was flagged by the Central Florida Intelligence Exchange for further investigation. The investigation traced the origin of the post to a home in Ansonia, Connecticut, where it was determined Zapata had been living in his sister's apartment along with her fiance and child at the time of the post. So, don't really need to read too much here. It's just like a little backstory here. And this was in April 2023. And then here's another one, June 14th, 2023. Fourth suspect arrested in Canada after threatening Sheriff Chitwood. A fourth suspect who posted and sent death threats in response to Sheriff Mike Chitwood's stance against hate groups has been arrested, this time in Canada. Tony Stromboli of Calgary, Alberta, was identified as an individual who made repeated threats over Twitter, via email and in phone calls to sheriff office employees. Stromberg used the name Condor Calabasas in his emails, which included threats to murder the sheriff and his family members. I don't know if there's anything else interesting that's come out from these leaks yet, because I know it's like a metric fuck ton of information to have to like crawl over. But I think like the sheriff information, you know, all the Jannies being gay, all of the like internal filters for not being able to call each other slurs, all of the like, hey, can we do something about all of these bait threads on poll literally just being ignored for some reason, you know? So this post was linked to me. Let's fucking go. Nice job, White House and Doge, putting an end to this COVID loan mitigation craziness. And then tagging that Darth Powell guy that I've read some tweets off of before. And this guy, I don't know who this guy is, but thanking them for speaking out. FHA ends the Biden-era COVID-19 loss mitigation waterfall. Today, the Federal Housing Administration published Mortgage Letter ML 2025-12, tightening and expediting implementation of the new permanent loss mitigation options, which modifies and replaces certain provisions in the ML 2025-06. Updates to servicing loss mitigation and claims published January 16, 2025, and provides revised and updated loss mitigation guidance. Through ML 2025-12, the Trump administration is definitively announcing the end of the relaxed COVID-19 era loss mitigation waterfall administered in FHA's single-family housing program. Additionally, the administration is announcing that it will continue its review of the entire FHA permanent loss mitigation waterfall to ensure the policy protects taxpayers while mitigating financial risks to the Mutual Mortgage Insurance Fund. The Department of Housing and Urban Development will be conducting an overall evaluation of the payment supplement tool as well, including an assessment of its performance and function to determine if it should remain a part of HUD's loss mitigation program. Many of the emergency loss mitigation policies implemented by FHA on the onset of COVID-19 national emergency, which were intended to be temporary, have instead been extended for years and remain in place today. FHA's prior failure to definitively sunset the COVID-19 emergency loss mitigation waterfall has increased risk in the MMIF. It hurt taxpayers and set up many FHA borrowers for failure, and enabled other FHA borrowers to abuse the current process. And if you've not been paying attention to anything going on, like the person posting this, whoever the fuck Yennefer is, you would read this and you'd be like, yay! Yay, this is great! It's ending! Oh boy! This was also linked to me. Big loss mitigation changes at the FHA. A little screenshot. This is a screenshot from their letter here, dated April 15, 2025. And as you can see up top here, this is 251 pages. So I'm just going to read the screenshot. Permanently sunsetting the COVID-19 loss mitigation options on September 30th, 2025. Moving up the effective date of the new permanent loss mitigation options to October 1st, 2025, from February 2nd, 2026. Continuing the suspension of FHA HAMP and sunsetting the program effective September 30th, 2025. Extending the time on the eligibility of a borrower for subsequent permanent loss mitigation option to once every 24 months, from once every 18 months. And canceling the scheduled increases in borrower compensation under the FHA's pre-foreclosure sale program, deed in lieu of foreclosure, disposition options, and cash for keys incentives, maintaining the current amounts. And if you've been watching my stream, you might, after I read these things, say, wait a minute, Kirsche, hold on, Kirsche, 1 second here, Kirsche. What do you mean? September 30th, 2025. What do you mean? October 1st, 2025. What is this February 2nd, 2026 date? Because when we read about this, and still on the FHA's actual fucking website, FHA offers COVID-19 recovery options to eligible borrowers who are 61 days or more delinquent through April 30th, 2025. This was supposed to end at the end of this fucking month. And then, in this fucking screenshot, wherever the fuck this is from, they complain about it being continuously extended. Apparently, at some point, the FHA extended this April 30th date to this February 2nd, 2026 date. They did this so quietly, they didn't even update their own fucking website with the new date. And now, the Trump administration's like, okay, well, we're gonna roll that back to September 30th, 2025. I say I don't give a shit about the banks. This should have been rolled the fuck back all the way to the end of this month. This should have been, no, you said April 30th. We're not extending it. We're not forcing taxpayers to pay for other people's mortgages until fucking September. So, like, I am livid reading this. Why did it get extended to February 2026? And why, when the Trump administration finally found out what was happening, why did they only roll it back to September 30th, 2025? Like, Kirsche, the banks would have to scramble too much. It would be a problem if you put it too close. I don't give a shit. I do not care about the fucking banks having to scramble and figure out how to do shit so quickly. They absolutely should not have put that date out into September. Roll it back to the end of the month. Like, this is asinine. Absolutely fucking asinine. And there's an article here. FHA updates loss mitigation waterfall in new mortgage servicing guidance. This is from January 17th. I'm pretty sure when we read all of the shit about the April 30th date, that was only several weeks ago. That was only like sometime in March that we read about this. So apparently January was when they decided, April's too close. Let's push that back until next year. The Federal Housing Administration this week published Mortgage Letter 2025-06, which codifies updates to FHA's permanent loss mitigation options based on learnings from its temporary COVID-19 policies and feedback received on the draft policies from a proposal published this past November. Published on Thursday, this letter extends existing COVID-19 recovery options to February 2026. The FHA said it is aiming to give stakeholders time to implement the new loss mitigation, claims, and reporting requirements. The letter clocks in at 243 pages, detailing a large number of changes that will be incorporated into a revision of the Single-Family Housing Handbook 4000.1 for all of the agency's Title II forward mortgage programs. Among the changes, the ML updates FHA's repayment plan and forbearance policies, changes the agency's home retention options for borrowers who either can or cannot resume their existing monthly payments. I don't care. You should not have been given these loans. I want your house foreclosed on as soon as fucking possible. I want you kicked out on your ass on the street, out of the house, get it back on market. Stop using tax dollars to pay for this fucking scum. I'm sick of it. I am so fucking mad. Revises the agency's loan modification option for unresponsive borrowers and updates both allowable loan modification interest rate pricing and policies toward presidentially declared major disaster areas. The ML also, wait a minute, hold on. Updates the loan modification interest rate pricing and policies towards the major disaster areas. What? Didn't people in North Carolina have issues like even getting immediate relief payments, never mind anything with their loans? Weren't they essentially told, you voted for Trump, fuck off, right? Like, what the fuck do they mean by this? What the fuck do they mean by this? The ML also adds guardrails to mitigate the risk of redefault and ensure that borrowers receive the most appropriate loss mitigation option. This includes a minimum requirement to the number of payments made, borrower attestation that a loan modification is affordable, and successful completion of a 3-month trial payment plan. The ML also makes changes to FHA's home disposition options. Last month, a coalition of 6 mortgage trade organizations sent a letter to FHA Commissioner Julia Gordon pushing for the current loss mitigation waterfall be extended to February 2026, while updates to the agency's servicing handbook are deliberated. Both the Mortgage Bankers Association and the Community Home Lenders of America lauded the ML's publication. Of course, the mortgage trade organizations don't want to enter into foreclosures because their fucking free money will stop. Mortgage groups push FHA for loss mitigation extension. This was published December 23rd, 2024. In late November, the FHA proposed updates to its permanent loss mitigation options based on lessons learned from its temporary policies implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time, the FHA indicated it would give stakeholders an extension to the current April 30th, 2025 deadline. Because the draft handbook covers a broad range of topics and includes new options, a substantial implementation time window is necessary even though many parts of the draft are familiar. The coalition includes the American Bankers Association, the Center for Responsible Lending. Yeah, that's what you don't fucking do. Look at that fucking subversive ass name. Housing Policy Council, Mortgage Bankers Association, National Consumer Law Center, and National Mortgage Servicing Association. The FHA's proposal outlines several options to borrowers struggling with mortgage payments, whether they can resume payments or not. The draft includes standalone partial claims, a 40-year loan modification, and a payment supplement partial claim. The entire issue is that these banks were allowed to give loans to people that could not afford them. Because these lending companies knew that if they gave these loans to people who could not afford them, they would get paid by the FHA and could keep adding these missed payments from the people onto the back of the mortgage. So they created both a perpetual debt slave while also getting paid on time by the government. These have no interest in this program changing, and of course are going to continue to lobby for extensions. The coalition requested the FHA to maintain a streamlined loss mitigation process and avoid returning to a document-heavy system. They also advocated for a unified process to address all types of hardship, job loss, natural disaster, and others, simplifying implementation for mortgage services. The FHA proposal also introduces guardrails to ensure home retention for borrowers who can sustain monthly payments, such as 3-month trial payment plans, which the trade group said is better than using a full documentation process. The coalition expressed support for the FHA's payment reduction strategy, aligning it with practices used by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I can't remember which one it was, but we read an article recently, I want to say it was Fannie Mae, where the director basically resigned. They found a whole bunch of fraud going on at the organization, and then the director was like, whoop, time to resign. Research has shown that targeting a reduction in monthly payment, which does not require a comprehensive evaluation of the borrower's financial situation, is more effective at reducing redefaults than meeting an income-based affordability target. The FHA's proposed updates come as mortgage delinquency rates have climbed in recent quarters, particularly within the FHA portfolio, driven by macroeconomic pressures, natural disasters, and rising property insurance premiums, as well as taxes. I don't think those are the primary cause for the FHA portfolio delinquency rates that, for some reason, you're unable to foreclose on because of these COVID fucking era shit. In early December, the FHA announced the implementation of modern borrower default engagement practices, enabling remote and electronic communications between mortgage lenders and defaulted borrowers. This initiative aims to expand borrower-lender interactions, building on the success of remote communications during the COVID-19 pandemic. MBA appreciates FHA's efforts to update its loss mitigation waterfall to preserve COVID-19 flexibilities and give mortgage servicers a variety of effective tools to help distressed homeowners, regardless of their financial hardship, stay in their homes. Get them out. Get them out. Bob Brocksmith, MBA's president and CEO, said in a statement, I am just so fucking mad at this point. You cannot use guilt. You cannot make me feel bad for people who could not afford their homes, buying homes they can't afford, with loans they can't afford. You're not going to guilt trip this time. Let me get this straight. A group representing banks who gave loans to people who can't afford them decided to have the government pay those loans instead and double dip on the debtors later too. Supposedly to help the debtors not be destitute. Instead of, you know, doing something to give said debtors a break themselves. They can do that, you know. Correct. You are correct. And also, to add to your timeline, these lenders are the ones who gave these people who couldn't afford the loans in the first place. And I've said this when we talked about this before. When you're talking to a lender, right? A lot of people will be like, this is their job. They know what they're doing. They're the professional. They know more than I do, right? That little like, well, they're an expert, so they must know more. If they give you like a pre-approval letter and they're like, hello, citizen, I know you only make, $120,000 a year. You can afford a $1.3 million home loan. The person's going to be like, well, I don't know how those numbers add up, but you're the expert. And if you say I can afford that, I believe you. And then they get into a house and then they realize, oh, I can't afford these payments. And because they can't afford these payments and the COVID relief programs have been going on for so long, it doesn't matter that they can't afford their monthly payment because the FHA starts paying the lender for those payments. And so let's just say, I don't know how much it would actually be, but let's say they have like a $7,000 a month mortgage. That $7,000 will get paid by the FHA to the lender, and then the lender can add that $7,000 missed payment plus interest onto the back of the mortgage so that the person who already couldn't afford it stays in debt longer. It is literally just printing money. Mortgage servicers have provided forbearance to approximately 8.5 million borrowers since March 2020. And this is where we were getting the roughly 8 million home figure, where at the end of April, when this program stopped, there should have been foreclosure proceedings happening to about 8 million homes. 8 million homes going into foreclosure all at the same time. And then May 1st, I don't know if it's May 1st anymore. Because I haven't looked into it. But May 1st was supposed to be when the VA loans did the exact same thing as the FHA loans. Where May 1st, they would stop paying all of this COVID relief to people who took out VA loans and hadn't been paying. So now this is going to be going on until fucking September. That's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. They should not have kept extending this. I'm glad Trump's administration noticed they extended it until February of next year and scaled it back. But they should not be given the benefit of the doubt like the FBI was given the benefit of the doubt to deliver documents. They should be told, no, you fucked up. You tried being weasels about it. You have until April 30th. I do not care about how difficult it would have been for these lenders and banks. Every distressed FHA borrower deserves fair consideration for a loss mitigation option, but this has to be balanced by a process that does not allow defaulted borrowers to string the process along just for the purpose of delay. That's true. That's true, and it's been strung along for years. Fucking cut it the fuck out. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Buck Angel here. Responding to someone. This is a tweet that says, surgeon botched her so bad that she was left with a scar bridge. So this is 1.4 years post-op of a female to male. I'm gonna mute this so Ziz doesn't have to AI edit it. Isn't this showing boobs on stream? It's a loophole. And then Buck responded, because they have to be. It's the only option they have now. They get brainwashed into believing this looks good as well. It's now the mark of trans, like being branded. And someone responded to Buck saying, didn't you also get top surgery? It seems hypocritical to get top surgery and then mock other trans people for doing exactly what you did. And then Buck responded here, are you fucking retarded? I have standards, as all transsexuals should, and I have no scars. And got my surgery 30 years ago. Fucktard. What the fuck is wrong with you all promoting this shit as gender-affirming care? Go fuck yourself. This is unacceptable surgery for anyone, but especially anyone who is transsexual. And there are a bunch of people who are talking about, like, scar fetishists and whatnot. I'm not exact. I know that there was one comment here that was interesting, but I don't know where the fuck it is. The scar tissues are intentional, and the scar is the goal as a mark of faith. It has nothing to do with appearing or living as if you are a different gender. And again, like, if you're an adult, do whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, people get, like, horns and shit implanted. I think it's disturbing, but, like, whatever, man. You're an adult. You're an adult. New Twitter is wild. Mark of faith, and they say it's not a cult. Yeah, exactly. Holy shit. You too can handle a box cutter and have a soldering iron. Scar is actually really bad. No surgery should result in such horrible scarring. It's because they're literally butchering people. Like, this is just free money. They don't care. So there's this little article here. Or not article, I guess a Twitter post. Ford executive goes on a rant at an elderly passenger for watching Fox News during a flight. Ford executive Barrett Evans, the company's chief learning officer, posted a rant on social media. He described seeing an elderly man watching Fox News on a flight from San Diego. Deplaning, and I notice he and his wife are getting into their airport wheelchairs to be pushed to the next gate. My filter was malfunctioning. Love to see you supporting DEI. The elderly passenger replied, "Not me." Evans said, "Yes, you. That wheelchair and the human pushing it are provided at no direct cost to you, rather by a subsidized cost attributed to every passenger in this airport, provided to level the playing field. For you." Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that that's the way that they phrase that? And also, isn't that interesting that when they talk about DEI, they usually talk about it in the realm of women and minorities? Women and minorities, they're kind of disabled from birth. They need a leveled playing field. They need an extra advantage, just like the physically disabled. What an interesting way to say that. What an interesting way to say that. I mean, screw the Americans with Disability Act, I guess, right? So I guess this is a picture of the Ford exec with his boyfriend or husband or whatever. Not all passengers need assistance, but for those who do, for whatever reason, the service ensures that they can access the airport, navigate security, and board their plane safely and with dignity. The cost being shared ensures that the service is available to those who need it, not just those who could afford to pay extra. This is real-world infrastructure of equity in action, acknowledging that different people have different needs and creating systems to support those differences fairly. And I don't think anybody really has an issue with people in wheelchairs needing extra assistance, right? Like, I don't think anybody has issues with that. But being a woman or being black isn't a disability that gives you a disadvantage. You don't need a leveled playing field. You should be competing on equal footing with everyone else around you. CEO's making a false equivalency. Why the hell does a car company have a chief learning officer? It's just newspeak. This is just them, like, renaming their DEI officer. It's not anything new. But I saw this yesterday from Consumers Research. DEI rebrand. Popular American companies are continuing the same woke agenda under a new name. For Kohl's, Dollar Tree, Disney, Nationwide, UPS, scrapping DEI was merely a PR stunt. Like, I haven't covered, like, these companies specifically, but I don't know how much that really matters. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to belonging. Wow, it's almost like I've said that for a year and a half now. It's almost like I've been screaming about them changing the language. And even before Robbie Starbuck came along and was like, "It's me, I'm making companies change their language, we're winning." Even before that happened, I was reading their documents and being like, hey, These guys are saying that they're going to try and change their language if too many people notice what they're doing. They say that if people continue noticing and calling them out about how they don't like DEI, they're just going to change the language and obscure it. Like, this is part of the plan. And then every time Robbie Starbuck was like, look what I did with this company, I was like, well, if you actually read the thing that they released, they say that they're not really changing anything at all. They're just changing language and stopping public reporting. Like, you didn't win anything. What do you mean, Mr. Starbuck? The consumer research people say companies are hiding their woke DEI initiatives behind new phrasing, belonging. See for yourself. It's like, yeah, you know, maybe some people are like, Kirsche, the credit doesn't matter and you shouldn't care. But like, I don't know. I see on Twitter everyone who complains about when they're not credited for shit, and it would be nice. It would be nice if the last year and a half of me taking time away from video games to showcase the soup rabbit hole got any recognition whatsoever. Our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion. The Walt Disney Company is committed to developing and retaining a diverse workforce, fostering a company culture that is welcoming and respectful, creating content and experiences that resonate with our global audiences, and collaborating with community organizations to make our industries more accessible to all. At Disney, we want everyone to belong and thrive. And the belonging terminology shift is specifically, right? Like, Bridge has been saying this since 2023. But the belonging shift specifically is from Sherm saying that they're dropping equity in favor of using belonging because equity has become a politically polarizing term. And if you use belonging, people are more likely to believe in what you're doing because who doesn't want to belong? Who doesn't want others to belong, right? To not belong is to be exclusive, and no one wants to exclude. Could have been the crime boss by now. It'd be different if no one was taking credit, but if credit's going around, it should go to those who actually deserve it. It's just like, if these people had bothered like reaching out to me, or even like other creators that I reached out to, or other political figures that I sent all this information to, if they had just bothered reading it, like this would have been out like a year ago, man. It would have been out a year ago, creating a culture of inclusion. And then, like, instead of being like, oh, hot scoop, we found out months after these companies changed the language what they're actually doing, it would have been like, oh, now we can call these companies out as soon as they change the language because we know their plan. We know what they're doing. Literally spending 1.5 years to showcase exactly what's happened. You're goddamn right, you should get credit. It's like saying you discovered gravity after Isaac Newton and saying, but I never heard anything about them or from them about this before, right? Dollar Tree is in on the DEI shit now? It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. And then this lady just changing Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Chief Inclusion and Belonging Officer. It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. If you want credit, you gotta be loud, proud, and reach out aggressively. I just don't like fucking yelling too much, you know? You know? And Kirsche did proper legwork. Robbie Starbuck deserves to be mocked and called out as a fraud. 100%. Bo Kira, thank you for the $4.99. You think it matters how many opportunities and the like have you lost holding firm to this? Who else has hounded on this as hard as you? I mean, true and fair. True and fair.